The Culture Currency show is for those who recognize that nuance is key. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but we tackle the issues that affect the majority when speaking of Black America. Our discussions are informed by the host's personal experiences and insights, and we're always open to evolving our perspective as we gain new understanding.
This is the story of two friends from the Bronx who decided to get real, be direct, and impact Black culture. Welcome to Culture Currency, where culture is the value.
Grand Rising.
Good morning. How you doing today?
I'm good.
That's
You?
good. I'm great.
Okay.
Great. Can't complain. Life is good.
So one of our viewers said, hey, it would be great if you talked about parental verbal abuse. So shout out to Eric Chose Me.
Yes. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'm Mahogany,
I'm Ish.
and this is Culture Currency.
What culture?
Is the value.
Yes.
So I wrote down some things, and you'll see how it aligns.
Okay.
Empathy without accountability
Yes.
equals enabling. Accountability without empathy equals abuse. Praise without critique equals false sense of self. Criticism without praise equals abuse. Reward without earning equals entitlement, and earning without reward equals abuse.
I love it. Yes.
So since we're speaking of one form of abuse,
Right.
I think we should start with, identifying the difference between telling your children hard truths or abuse.
Perfect.
Verbally.
Wonderful. That's great. Because one thing, because we had a conversation about hard conversations, right? And the thing about your children is that you're going to have hard conversations with them for the rest of their lives. That is your job, right? As a parent, right? To have these hard conversations, right? And a lot of us as parents use the justified hard conversations or repeating yourself as a reason to be disrespectful. And some of us may realize the impact that it has when you're disrespecting your child. You know what I mean? That's name calling, humiliation, not praising them when
Not
it's
giving
due.
equal response.
Giving equal response to things, and just being
Overly critical.
in your responses to them. So it is our job to develop them, right? To heal them when they're hurt, and to support them
And guide them.
right? Does screaming and cursing coincide with that? Does humiliation coincide with that? Does name calling coincide with that? Do any of those things match with building, guiding, and supporting your child? If it's not, then you're going the wrong way. That big sign that say wrong way on the highway, you're going the wrong way.
I agree.
In your journey of raising your child.
I 100% agree. I would say, growing up in my household, all of the cultural norms happened in my home, right? However, when I said norms, so one of the most powerful things my mother did for me was let me know that I was limitless. And talking life into me changed everything about who I became, who I am, all of the things.
Right.
So when I think about that, I could just imagine what the opposite does,
Exactly.
right? How I show up is absolutely, a testament to life being spoken into me.
Exactly.
So when it's the opposite of life being spoken into, imagine how that looks.
Then it's taking life, right? And thanks for saying that, because I was thinking about my parents as well. And my mother really, not that she didn't curse at us when we was acting up and all that kind of stuff, but the majority of what I received in my house, what that experience was my mother telling me, whatever you do, be your best at it. You know what I mean? Don't let people take advantage. Don't let people just walk all over you. You are great. My father always affirming me. And those things where it's like, you can't tear me down, because being brought up is part of my foundation. So you cannot do that to me. It's unfamiliar.
I've told people a million times, like, I made it a thing because my mother was that way and my dad was that way. Like, growing up during my time, being my complexion wasn't a positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so because it wasn't a positive, you're getting all of all this down talk outside. It's important for when you come inside that somebody's lifting you up.
That's right.
Right? And so when I raised my kids, it was very important for me to have the understanding that you're always going to have people who are going to say things that's going to knock you down a few notches.
That's right.
So if I make sure that your esteem is up here,
right,
even if they knock you down,
you still high.
You still got esteem.
That's right.
In a good form.
Right.
Right.
And you'll bounce back when you remember who you are. What I taught you.
You brought up, the cursing in the house. All of that stuff happened, but there's a difference between sit your ass down,
right,
and
sit your stupid ass.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So
right.
I did have the cursing at me.
Right.
I never had that.
Berating.
I never had
right.
that.
Right.
And there's levels, right? So because some people could feel like the cursing hurt them just as much as the berating.
Yeah.
But there's levels to things. So I want us to really
get into that. I love that. Let's really do that. See, every child is different.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's really important that you really get to know your child. Some kids are just hard-headed as all hell. Like, you are just hard-headed, you don't listen, and I gotta be a lot more stern with you than your other sibling who may not need that.
Some personalities are rebellious just to be rebellious.
Right.
And it takes a different hand for
right.
them.
Right. But however, how we started this off is the hard conversations. You have to have the hard conversations. So how do you have them respectfully when you're teaching the child how to be? When you're teaching your child how to be, do you want to deplete them? Do you want to tear them down? Do you want to make their self-worth?
Yeah, what's the goal? What's the goal here?
What's the goal here, right? Or do you want to build them up, right? And then when you have a child who doesn't need that kind of hard hand, you as a person, you as a parent, do you know how to parent that child? That doesn't need to be cursed out because they understand perfectly fine.
And that part too, is your response because you're frustrated, or is your response an act of what they're actually doing?
Yes.
Right? Because, as a parent, I have had times where it was like, you just did way too much.
Right.
This is your shit.
Right.
This wasn't theirs.
Right.
Right? You got to be able to identify that.
Yes.
You got to be able to identify when it's, I need to take a second because I'm piling on all of the things I have going on in my world on these children.
Yep.
And this is not really about what they just did.
I'm glad you said that. I had a conversation with a family member a few weeks ago and just discussing this. I'm like, damn, I want to have the conversation again. And the children were, expressing how they were impacted by the parent. And the parent was like, well, I was tired, came home, you know what I'm saying? I ain't say nothing to them, before I walked in the room, all this kind of stuff. And I came home, work, I'm tired and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, the way you respond to your kids emotionally, it does have an impact. And you do have to realize when it's your shit. You had a bad day, or you're lacking a resource, or whatever it is. How do you still
show up
as a parent, as a healthy parent?
You ran down the duties of a parent.
Right.
If you're not aligned with those duties, are you parenting?
Are you parenting?
Or are you being abusive?
It's a real thin line, because just because you provide doesn't mean you're not also emotionally abusive. You know what I mean? Because I know some great parents who are providers and just straight up abusers, verbally, physically.
Then they're not great parents.
They're not great parents, but you can't tell them they're not.
They're great providers.
Right.
They're not great parents.
Right.
And that's what this conversation
that's the
needs
other
to be, right?
Right.
It's like really identifying, like, how are you showing up and what does that equate to?
Yeah.
And I was on a different show. I was actually the interviewee. And they asked us about parenting. I said, I wasn't a great parent. And they couldn't believe that I said that out loud. And I was like, well, I mean, if I'm asking people to be real, I need to be real. The moment you say that, people start to reiterate, especially if they were around. You was a good parent, like you.
Yeah.
And I said that's not what I said.
Yeah.
I wasn't a great parent.
Right.
And I understand why I wasn't a great parent. When you think about how you show up in completion, just because you mean well doesn't mean you're doing well.
Right.
So my intentions were always good.
Right.
I was always super protective. My
Right.
kids would tell you, like, I ain't never felt unsafe. You know what I mean? They always was provided for, but those really are the bare minimum.
Right.
When it comes
Right.
down to parent. Were they emotionally safe?
Right.
Did I make sure that they knew how to
Felt heard.
advocate for themselves?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So all of those things come into play when you're talking about great parenting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Did you set them up to be great adults?
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I
That's
mean?
Right.
And
right.
so although that was my intention, because I didn't have the tools, I continue to parent now as their adults. I'm continuing to give them the tools that I got over the time
Right.
because now I'm a great parent.
Right.
I wasn't
Exactly.
a great parent
Right.
then.
Right. Because you didn't have the skills, though you didn't have the resources.
But
at
you
the
gotta
time.
be cool with saying that.
Yes, that's what really helps the healing and keeping those relationships, because the parent-child relationship is very important.
It
when
is.
you lose connection with your kids, you can say you don't care, but it hurts.
All maternal relationships.
Yeah, and paternal, right.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are around the relationship. You
Right.
feel it.
You feel it.
You feel it.
You feel
I
it.
remember when my brother lost his dad, and as an adult, I think that was the second time I ever seen him cry in our lives, and I was so surprised because his father was never there, and as far as my two brothers was concerned, their father was dead a long time ago, so they constantly said that, and then when he died for real, my brother felt it differently. And I was like, oh shoot. Cause I'm looking at the outer appearances.
Right.
He got something is empty inside because
Right.
this a part of him is gone.
It's a biological connection,
Yeah.
and it's really gone now, and there's no chance to,
Yeah,
it's
it's no chances.
And then like,
It's
who are
over.
you mad at? Still, it's gone. It's over.
You ain't get
Yeah.
you ain't get to heal wounds. You ain't get to do the things.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about parental verbal abuse, which we're talking about, is that you can't physically see the scars, and parents are not getting arrested for it, and things of that nature. But it's that mental, and there's those emotional scars that really last a lifetime.
They're there forever.
They're there forever. You know what I mean? And then you spend a lifetime trying to reverse it. You know what I mean? So either you become that, or you say, hell no, I would never treat my kids like that. Or you end up in relationships because, looking for that because it's so familiar.
Ooh,
so you
baby.
are also accustomed to verbal abuse. So if somebody is not also talking to you
Yeah.
crazy, they don't love you, or they soft.
Those are our very first relationships.
Yep.
And they teach us how we are to be in relationships and
Yep.
what relationships are.
Yep.
So when we're abused, we think that that's what love looks like, and now that's what you're dealing with.
You know what just happened the other day? I was with a few of the young people in my family, and celebrating a birthday, and one of my nieces said, "So who's the man and the woman in the relationship?" She don't care what she say out her mouth, even if she knows. One day she called me auntie uncle, and I said, "Stop playing with me." She was like 4.
Nah, what?
Right, I said, "Stop playing." She's like, "Auntie uncle." She thought it was so funny. So
It is
anyway,
dope. It is funny,
it was
though.
funny, but I'm like, stop playing. Don't even, because she's a funny one. So you can guess whose daughter it is. But anyway, so who's the male, who's the female in the relationship? Talking to me and Tree. So I said, what you mean by that? Who's the male and female? She's like, the one that do the stuff like take out the garbage, drive the
Okay.
car, curse you out.
Curse you out.
I said-
Oh, yeah, that's revealing.
That was revealing. So I said, okay, I'm not going to harp on this right now because it's not going to be heard. She's going to be aggravated. But later I brought it up again. I was like, what you mean by I brought it up again, like a light, very light. Like I said, you see me drive all the time, right? I said, and I do take out the garbage. I said, but what you mean by curse you out? You know what I mean? She couldn't really explain it, and she was like, no, I'm just saying stuff and stuff like that. But I'm like,
Because she don't really know where she got it from.
where she got it from, but we have to talk about it again. It could be something that you're seeing at home. It could be something you're seeing on television, or something that's just a cultural norm where you feel like your man is supposed to grab you up. Your man is supposed to curse
had
you
that
out.
discussion.
Exactly. So we have to talk about that again.
Yeah.
Because the fact that was your top 3
Yeah,
is a problem.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And what happens is, if you're spoken to a certain way as a kid, you actually look for those. I know people who look for those type of partners, and they don't realize how problematic it is. Where if they get with someone that's not, just because you're not aggressive doesn't mean you soft. So if you get with
Exactly.
someone that's not aggressive, you feel like, He's soft.
I mean, I used to talk to my sister about that all the time. 'Cause she, I come from a long line of fighters.
Yeah.
And so you got to be of a certain ilk to
Yeah.
mess with us.
Right,
Like on
right.
some serious.
Right.
The feminine women in my
Right.
family get busy.
Yeah.
Right? So she has this thing with like, I noticed like even her last relationship was somebody who's known to get busy.
Mm-hmm.
And the respect factor was different with him. Right? And then she was with guys who, there was talks, but she ain't never see them in work. And then she seen them at work and it wasn't what she think work is.
Right.
And it was different.
Well, that's different though.
was
Because
different
if you see we actually don't get busy, it's a little different.
Nah, everybody could get beat.
Yeah, that's true too.
Everybody
That's
could get
absolutely
beat.
true, too.
As skillful as I
Yeah,
am,
yeah.
although I've never met my match is
It's
out
there,
there.
it's there.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I be trying to make sure she understands that. Like we
Okay.
all can run into somebody who got it that day. There's no one on this earth that can protect you from any and everything. There's just not.
Yeah, I
Or
understand
any and
what
every
you're
one.
saying. I was watching some stuff and preparing for this, and some of the talk was about parents who are verbal abusers being, of course, we know being abused themselves, being narcissists, and another thing that's very interesting is being antagonists. Like somebody like y'all, like why would you really antagonize your kids? Like, are you
Ooh,
serious? Like, you
babe.
really poking at your kids,
I know these
daring
things
them
all too
to be
well.
a certain way with you. It's like you just a bully in the house and you comfortable with this?
You know what's funny about that? Every black family I know has the same story of that one time that their parents threw their hands up and was like, you trying to fight?
Yeah.
And we like, nobody trying
You
to
trying to-
fight
what is
you.
wrong with you? Right?
Nobody trying to fight you. Because I know
Yo. That's
we
hilarious.
didn't get this weight out of nowhere. My mother get busy. My pops get
right,
like
absolutely.
we get
Same
busy.
Here, same here. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to
Yeah,
fight my
yeah,
moms.
yeah, like,
I
yeah.
never
I was
forget when
scared
she
of her
threw
one
her
time.
joints up like and I was like, hold on.
I heard
know.
the stories.
I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
nobody trying to fight you. So this is something that happens.
It's something. But you know.
But it don't come from is this is why I say we sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's not, that doesn't come from trying to agitate. They really believe what they saying.
Absolutely.
They believe it.
And you know what? But I feel like this generation, they're a lot softer than we were, right? But what I mean by that is like a lot more connected with their feelings,
Emotional.
their emotions, and they're also given the language. But a lot of folks from our generation or the one before us, we feel like too sensitive, immature. You can't, man, toughen up and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's not. Sometimes it's really not about toughen up. You're really not doing the right thing.
Our culture for a large amount of us come from not so forgiving surroundings, right?
Right.
And so a lot of times what we're seeing as abuse when it comes to stuff like that is preparation. And so
one.
we have to be there's thin lines for a lot of things and the language of it and how it operates. We really have to get to a point where we're identifying what it is that helps to polish us and prepare us for what the world has for us as a people versus what is abuse.
So I'm so happy you said that because sometimes that is the view. But do you have to violate to prepare your child?
No, that's why
you know
I
what I'm
said
saying?
we got to get the language for it.
Right.
We got to understand what the differences is.
Yeah.
Like at some point there needs to be an identity
Right.
for this thing.
Right.
Right? Because I know that a lot of the things that like hurt like hell for me growing up was what made me so durable. It's what made me so capable. It's what made me the things that everybody admires today, right? But could I have gotten this way from a different method? And we got to figure that part out. But we don't, we're learning. We're finally in a space where people are having the deep conversations and really discussing feelings and how we're interacting in relationships and like these were never conversations back then.
It wasn't because you said we should put the language, but the thing is it actually is here. We do have the language. We just have to access it, and we have to be brave enough to say, "I wasn't a good parent."
Yeah.
Now I am. Or maybe I'm still not, and I got stuff to learn.
We gotta really identify what parenting is, because a lot of people just think it's the responsibility of getting you to adulthood and getting
making sure you clothe, making sure I feed you, but the emotional thing
is more than that.
Verbal abuse leads to emotional abuse, and it's so hard to detect it if you're not in the household, because it's internal. You know what I mean? But what
you
comes
just see
out,
that, you just see the responses. I speak of this all the time. Think about me, the prior me. And everyone who I've ever had discussions with about their interactions with me back then was like, yo, it always was like, watch what you say to her, she gonna be there. Like, everybody was on eggshells. But they was on eggshells because I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. And my life's situations and my household and all that didn't prepare me for that. It was just yeah, this is how you protect yourself.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying there's good and bad to everything.
Right.
And we gotta find where that starts and ends, so that we're not taking away the things that make them what they need to be. We want them to be healthy.
Right.
We want them to be mentally, emotional, physically stable, right? But we also want them to be able to protect themselves.
Right.
We also want them to have discernment and understand what is dangerous and not dangerous for them without having to go through trauma to get it.
Right. And there's ways to do it.
It's ways to do it, but I don't think we have figured it out as a people yet. And so that's what these conversations is about.
You know what? I feel a bunch of ways.
Go ahead.
All right. So I think some of us don't want to figure it out.
I agree with that.
If you figured it out, if I figured it out.
I don't think I figured that out.
Figure what out?
That part. What I'm saying is there's a fine line between, we've been leaning, right? These discussions lean all the way this way or all the way that way, right? It's like, okay, you're either abusive or lacking preparation. We haven't figured out what this side being involved and this side being involved, what that's supposed to look like. We're taking away some of the things that we're calling abuse, some of the things that's actually necessary to make them be able to survive, compete, and thrive in this world.
Okay, so I want to say we not. I don't even want to put us in that we, because I have looked at some stuff and some studies, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, yo, this is not abuse though. You know what I mean? This is holding your child accountable. This is preparing them, and you're right. But then a few words that I wrote down, and one of them was broken, one of them was lazy, and one of them was straight up a narcissist. These are three categories where you have a type of parent where a training is not going to help them. Watching no videos, conversations is not going to help them. This is who they are. I agree with you. Sick. It's no winning with this parent. They're dangerous, right?
I agree.
And then you have the broken parent, right, who's been through all of this stuff and hasn't figured out how to heal themselves so that they can be better parents, and they would love to. And those can be taught. They can go to trainings, they can go to therapy and then figure it out. And then
the narcissist.
I said the narcissist.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know if I have parentheses lazy, broken and lazy, because I feel like some people are broken and lazy and just too lazy to get fixed. You know what I mean?
Some people don't want to do the work. We speak about that all the time.
Right.
It's too easy to just stay in the mess versus fighting through it.
Right, because fighting through it hurts you. Because then you have to admit the mistakes that you made.
It's selfish. And that goes back to when I said, what is parenting, right? Because your children come before you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so even if it hurts, you got to do it.
That means parenting
I got to go to war for my kids.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. Like, yes, I've made error. Yes, I've not been the greatest at all times. But one thing you will never hear about me is that I ain't go to war at every level. Whether it was mental, spiritual, physical. Every level of war, I've been there for mine. That's parenting.
That's parenting, yeah. So what part you didn't figure out you're saying?
I'm talking about the language though. I know what I'm doing, right? And that's why I always say I'm living my life in a particular way and I'm being a blueprint for others. I want them to just see me in it, see the outcome and all of that, right? But I'm living it. I'm kind of learning as I go.
Of course.
And tweaking things as I go. To be able to tell people this is what you do there's a language that has to come with that that I don't think exists, because what I say exists, I do think there's more language out, but like I said, I think that the language is leaning in different directions. They're not giving you the totality of the outcomes of what comes from this, right? You got the language the language that's out for not being abusive makes them lazy, makes them entitled, makes them all of these different things, right? And that's not the outcome you desire either, right? Makes them not capable of taking any type of like you gotta be able to go to war. I don't care where you're from, where you live. This is life. Life has warring, and you gotta be able to go through it. So when you start taking everything away from the sharpening of these kids, you're leaving them with a deficit. The same way you're leaving them with a deficit on the other end. So what I'm saying is, I haven't figured out the language that brings those two together without leaving them in a deficit or any, like, there has to be
so
some
I have to say something. So you just said a bunch of stuff, and that's the language right there. Right, and then with the language comes, so what are those tools? What does it look like? How do you do it? Because the language is right there. You just said all the words, right? We can't leave them at these deficits and not be able to be resilient, be able to protect themselves, Now, how do you do that in a healthy way? You know what I mean? And I think one thing where we got caught in this mess, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me.
Yeah, that's the biggest lie.
That's the biggest lie. One of the biggest lies
of
of all time. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, sometimes words can hurt more.
I want to go off topic
for
a second.
Go off topic. Go ahead.
Did you see that clip of the mom's filming her daughter walking, and the daughter's mad at her, so she just keeps stepping on the cracks?
To break your mother back?
She was like,
yo,
that is the funniest thing
that's mad
ever.
Funny. What happened? Yeah, it's gonna hurt later. It's not ready. That's gonna hurt later, and I'm not gonna help you.
That is so funny.
That's mad funny. But now it's really about, like, how do you do it though? Because many of us, we know how to be aggressive. We know how to, rear our children with a heavy hand. But how do you do it in healthy ways? I think both of us have experienced some stuff that wasn't so healthy, like you said, traditional Black household, and then some of the stuff that was really healthy. And then one way I was able to see it in myself is because as in an adult relationship, there's certain things that just what I could not allow it because it was so unfamiliar to me. Like when I was with somebody and she tried to call me stupid. And she was like, oh, it's stupid. So I said, whoa. I said, no. I said, you cannot talk to me like that. It just felt like, what the hell are you talking? It just bounced over like,
that
you
sound
bugging?
Crazy.
That sound crazy, but for some people, it's normal.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, you stupid, so it's like, you stupid. And you feel like you going back and forth, you stupid, but it's like, no, y'all bugging, y'all disrespectful, y'all violating, and this is gonna be bad. But you want your child to be, you want the armor to bounce off all of that negativity. So how do you build that armor? How you give them that vest?
That part, right? So you said, we all know how to be aggressive. It started with a conversation you and I had back in 2008 or something. Remember, we was discussing, us as masculine presenting women and the aggressive title.
Oh yes, I remember that conversation.
And we discussed how at the time aggressive fit me because I was living like that. But assertive fit you at the time, right? And so that takes me back to definitions.
Right.
Really defining terms. Remember I said before in one of our shows that when you, if you define something in the wrong way, you show up in that definition.
Right.
So understanding that aggression is not what we need, assertiveness is
what we need. Yeah.
Right? So aggression is a violence.
Right. It's a violating of people.
Assertive is a foundational strength. Right? It's like, you can't do that to me.
Yeah.
Versus
I smack the shit. You even think I'm playing with you?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So that is a tool that our young people need, period. Right? So we have to be the ones to show up in that anyway.
Exactly.
Because if they're going to work, whether they're working a job, whether when they're dealing with people, you need to be able to be firm in your stances, but not step out of your godliness.
Also, do you want them to make it through these conflicts, or you want all of them to be violent?
Exactly. Because like I said, I mean, to some degree, I knew better, but I didn't. You know what I mean? It's like people tell you don't be hitting people. But at the same time, everything that echoed around me back then was, you hit people. Everybody hit people.
Everybody hit people.
My mother was hitting us.
Yeah.
We was fighting
My
each
mother
other. We
told
go
me
in the
my
streets.
brother to jump people.
You know what I mean?
Hit them with something.
So it's like, do we really know right from wrong in this scenario?
Defensive, not just hit people.
That's what I mean by getting the language, really defining your terms, understanding what that means, what that looks like, and how that lends to the outcome.
Right.
You know what I mean? What do I want? What am I really trying to do? Am I trying to raise just strong kids? Because we talked about that a million times. That's the black thing.
Right.
I want to raise strong kids. And it makes sense.
Right.
Because we're up against...
But what does strength look like, right?
Exactly.
So what is that, right?
So do I just want to raise strong kids, or do I want to raise
sound, healthy,
not just sound and healthy, but durable, capable, you know what I mean, all of the things, and it takes a different hand.
It does.
You know, it takes a different hand. So I think this is a really large discussion that we're gonna have to have another one, because it's like, I want to give more insight. I think we're giving a lot in the discussion, but I want to be able to like pinpoint, you know what I mean, bullet points. This is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do.
Well, I just want to say, based on what you were saying, that you want to raise your child to be sound, to be resilient, to be all of these things, right? And abuse of a child of any kind, and we're talking about verbal abuse today, but we're really talking about all of it. Do you want your child to be depressed, have anxiety, be suicidal, a substance abuser, all of those things? Do you want them fighting to find themselves for the rest of their lives, way past the stage of finding yourself in a certain way that you should already have sound? Do you want your child fighting like that? If you do, continue to be abusive. If you want your child to be everything that you said, you know what I mean, sound, resilient, accountable, you know what I mean, a person of honor, strong. If you want your child to be all of those things, then you have to figure out the way of doing that. And then before we say, oh, there's no book for parenting, now there is. There are many books about parenting and understanding your child's development stage. Now, I'm not saying you got to take everything in there, but you can learn a lot of stuff. Because if you understand their brain development, you can understand why they acting like this. Now, how do you, like I always talk about this, like how do you help them get through this healthy without you beating them down because they bugging out? But guess what? This teenage stage, they're going to do that. You did it.
Often what happens is our frustration, like when we start talking about the abuse and we're talking to them crazy, and whether it be hitting or whether it's just verbally annihilating them, it comes from frustration. Right?
Yep.
And that frustration usually comes from a lack in you. It don't have nothing to do with them kids. It has to do with the fact that you ain't been consistent. It has to do with the fact that you didn't give consequences to prior actions, right? In order for you not to get to a breaking point, this is not just every day, every moment thing. When something happens, they need to understand what was done wrong. They need consequences for their actions, and you can't be trying to be friendly in that moment. And if you said they're going to be on punishment for a week it is.
Right, a week it is.
I don't care what they did within that week to get, a week it is. You got to stand behind whatever it is. Like your children need to be able to bet on the fact that if I mess up,
this is what it's going to be.
This is what it's going to be.
And that's from the beginning.
And
you don't wait till you get to a teenager to start doing that.
And that's the part, right? That's the part, because a lot of people I get it, a lot of us are busy. Some people are doing it on their own. And so it feels like, I don't have time to be on their backs every 2 minutes.
Right.
But you won't have to be on their backs every 2 minutes if you start being consistent.
Exactly.
Because at some point they get the drift.
Right.
If they know she gonna forget.
Right.
She gonna go to sleep. My kids knew I don't forget. Bonnie says it every day, like, yo, I know when you used to be like, yo, when you get home, I used to try to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You was gonna wake me up out my sleep because they need to understand to respect your word.
That's right.
Your word is your bond.
Baby.
I live that in
That's
every way.
And
so I don't say things I don't mean
Right.
because I need to be able to stand behind the things I say. So I say I'm a spank, you getting spanked. You getting spanked. If I say you going on punishment, you going on punishment.
Right.
If I say, yo, you not getting nothing because you not getting nothing.
Right.
And there's nothing you're gonna be able to do to change that because this has to do with that, not what you're doing next. Right. So consistency can keep you from being frustrated and stop you from, going to the place where you get abusive.
When you get abusive, yep. And then sometimes, and if that doesn't work because your kid is going through, sometimes kids have other kind of issues that need to be evaluated and all that. They're not just acting up.
But that's also our job to identify. And pursue some level of support for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if you don't want your child to feel like a stupid motherfucker or a dumbass or anything you could possibly say to your kid that's a bit down, if you don't want them walking around with believing that's who they are, you better speak to them and speak life into them so they can be who you want, not who they deserve to be.
Who they was put here to be.
Yeah, help them get there.
What are we talking about? If you taking the God out of them, guess whose job you doing? Let's be real.
Wow. Pow, 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 pow. That's crazy that you said that.
These they came from you.
Right.
They came from you. So this is a part of you. It shows how you feel about yourself in the ways that you interact with them. You hate yourself, so you're showing them hate.
Right.
We gotta do better.
Yeah. Yesterday I was hungry at my mother's house and she had some leftovers. I said, Ma, I need that. I ain't asked to be here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what? You are annoying.
I didn't ask to be. You gotta give me those leftovers.
Yo, something is really wrong with you, man.
Oh my
God. I ain't asked to be here. You gotta get those leftovers. You wanted me here, now I gotta eat.
Nah, right.
Oh man. So I think we did it.
Yeah.
You got anything you left off the table?
I want people to admit when they're not good parents and not stop acting like they ain't do nothing to their kids when they did. You know what I'm saying? Heal those relationships. You know what I mean? Stop making excuses for your lazy behavior, for your, levels of aggressiveness that were unjust. You know what I mean? For your life frustration that you took out on your kids. You know what I mean? Really tear yourself down. You know what I'm saying? And so you can build yourself up and be a better parent, man. It's so important, man. We need healthy adults here, but it comes from the household, man.
The entire purpose of what we're doing is the impact that it's gonna have on our people as a whole. We're not gonna get it right all the time, but the goal is the intention of getting it right all the time.
Right.
And making sure that when we don't hit the mark, we regroup and try again.
Come back, spin the block.
Yep.
Because if you ain't speaking life,
you're speaking death.
You speaking death. But I wanted to rhyme. All right, I'm gonna do it again. Excuse me. If you know what I'm saying.
Go ahead. You trife.
Right.
Took it back to the 90s.
Right. You trife.
You ain't speaking life, you trife.
Yeah, basically, yeah. All right, no. If you're not speaking life, then it's not right.
There you go. I'm Mahogany.
I'm Ish.
And this is Culture Currency.
What culture
is the value.
Make sure to like, subscribe,
share, and comment.
Peace.